going to start off today by introducing this illustrious panel. If I get a little irreverent, I've gotten to know these characters over the last year or so, and we like to have a little fun, so it might come at their expense today, because I got the mic. First person I'd like to introduce is Chip Taylor. Chip's the executive producer and head writer for the Appraisers. He's president of Chip Taylor Communications, a production and distribution company since 1985. Chip's career as an independent producer includes a long list of programs that range from children's programs, to biographies, to copyright law, to historical documents. The Appraisers was his first foray into bringing real cars, real people, and real stories into reality TV. This is about as short as anything I've ever heard from Chip, because as you will find, he can go on. So we'll learn more about Chip's background down the road. Down the end there, young Mr. Chip Ritter. Chris Ritter. Well, Chip Ritter. Today he's Chip, because that's who I said he is. Yeah. I guess the joke's going to be on me here today. Yeah. Prior to becoming our librarian in 2008, Chris toiled, in his words, in public libraries for more than 10 years. Chris has his master's degree in library science from the University of Pennsylvania. While he enjoyed turning wrenches and flying airplanes when he started with us, the car bug would bite hard, and Chris quickly forgot about his other hobbies. He got a 1937 Buick Special Business Coupe in 2011 and started doing all the restoration work himself. And I can tell you, he has done it himself. He's brought a lot of it into the library for me to see, and I'll tell you what, it's pretty terrific work for a guy doing it for the first time. He's done a complete engine overhaul, new interior, electrical work, and even stripped and painted the car himself. Chris feels lucky to have been picked to be on the Appraisers, and he enjoys showing off the library's holdings throughout the show. They call him the car geek on the show, a name he wears with pride. Ben Neff is right next to Chip. Ben started out in the car business by changing oil and working his way through jobs, leading to a stint as a parts manager. After buying a Harley, who would have ever thought, he ventured out to a successful career building custom bikes. He later found his way to Las Vegas, where he opened up an exotic car dealership with muscle cars, Ferraris, Lambos, resto rods, and his personal favorite, the Koenigsegg. Now, I know that can't be your personal favorite. You threw that in to see if I could pronounce it.
Yeah, it's Koenigsegg.
Yeah, see? That's it. I knew he would correct me. Ben eventually got tired of wearing a suit, so he partnered with Motor Cars International and now works from his home, where he finds luxury cars for his buyers. Ben has driven everything from a bulldozer to a Bugatti. Our next person, I asked for some information about the show. And Tom gave me his biography, and it might take me a little bit here to get through this whole thing. Hey, where are you? Actually, I got to get rid of this one. All right, Mr. Cox. Tom first joined our Tidewater region at age 13. Age 13. And has gone on to become an AACA National President in 2013. Tom has a great collection of automobiles which run the gamut of makes and eras. He and his far better half, Tammy, are both completely immersed in our hobby. Tom has also been most active in the hobby in regards to working on legislation to save our hobby, which is really commendable, and he's done some major work in that area. He's been president of the Transportation Museum and generally is all in, as they say, when it comes to antique cars. You'll find more about his role and others in the Appraisers later this morning, but we do owe Tom a great debt of gratitude. Tom also is the president of a chain of family eye car centers in Virginia. That's your crew here, folks. We're going to start out some questions with Chip and the gang, and then we'll open it up to the audience for any questions you have. I will say this right now. Please don't ask questions about next season's show. The good news is Discovery wants them back. That's great news. We're really thrilled about that. Chip is in negotiations on that whole program right now and is not really allowed to speak to any of that. But keep your fingers crossed because we're hopeful to see a great second season with a lot more episodes. And if anybody can pull it off, I think Chip can. Chip, before we get into the show itself, what's a producer do?
I know. So that is a big question because kids go to film school and they want to be a producer, and so you do get those different levels. You can go to New York, into the city and get a degree and that kind of thing. And in the traditional, where most of us here went to school, you go to that and you become a producer. Today with the internet, and the internet is changing everything. It's starting to change television. And when just a few years ago, when you heard, oh wow, cable's going to have 500 channels, and then all of a sudden, big cameras went to small cameras. Almost anybody can try to be a producer. One reason the Appraisers made it, I've been, this is my 40th year doing this stuff. And fortunately, with Discovery, I've done a number of documentaries, and so people, they knew me they call those one-offs, and we'd have a documentary on once in a while, and people would say, hey, nice job, nice program. But to produce an entire series that they want numbers for, that takes a little more credibility. And one producer that I had worked with, he was so excited to get his series on television because, I said, hey, I can get you on. And so I got him on, and he was just filled with vigor and all that. Then the reality of how much it costs to really, today, high definition, and now they're even talking about what they call 4K high definition. In the last 5 years, they have gone, it's almost like John F. Kennedy is saying, we're going to make it to the moon. You go, wow. And so people who had those small cameras, they went, oh, this is a lot more expensive than I thought. So to get to that level, to be able to be on a Discovery Channel or Velocity Channel like that, you have to really know your stuff about technical standards. So this guy, he did a good job, but he just couldn't get to that next level. So Discovery said, hey, we'd like that series again. Could we have that one? And I said, he can't get the money. And they said, well, we've got a slot. Can you fill it? And I went, this is interesting because you don't get asked that question. And so I had 1 second to say yes, and I said, oh, absolutely.
No problem.
And these people I knew for 15 years, and they looked at me and they said, you can do it, right? I said, I can do it. And I'm just going to let you know the caveat on this, which a lot of producers don't understand. You have to buy E&O insurance because they make you sign a contract and they say, now that's going to be delivered, and this had to be delivered by Halloween, and they said if you don't deliver, you have to have E&O insurance because if on November 1st that isn't there and our schedule's filled, our legal department sues you for that slot, which is $250,000. So if I hadn't delivered, my insurance company would have been sued $250,000 on that day because they would have had to fill the whole thing. And that's where a lot of producers go, that's too big a risk. And so these guys know I was really huffing and puffing when we were trying to get things going. So it takes determination to be a producer, it takes creativity, it takes money to be a producer, great ideas, and we'll get into that as a thing, but it takes the ability to prove to these stations. If you're going to go on that level, you've got to be able to prove that you can deliver and back it up with your own, with your own money, your own insurance. So that's a real brief.
So it's not just as simple as Mike Jones has an idea for a TV show and wants a TV show and says to Discovery, I want a TV show.
Right. They have 15,000 of those on their desk. And they just, you have to, there's a lot of trench work that goes on. I've been working with Discovery for, I've been in this business 40 years, and so, and they've been around since 77 or whatever that is, and I've known from the beginning of the people. And even though I have a really, really good reputation, but so do a lot, this is America, this is competition, and people come in and you get sponsors, and Steve and I have talked about different ones, where if a sponsor hires somebody, a really, really big studio, and they come in with big bucks, well, that gets on television. And we've all seen that. We'll take a Velocity channel. There's some things there that I no offense, I can't watch. I go, I can't watch that. And that was when Tom called me. He said, you know, this is a cute story. I'll do it real quick. He called me up and he said, boy, I watched that program. He doesn't even know me from a hole in the wall. And he said, that guy's a lunatic. And I said, I agree with you. All I did was they asked me to do it. And so I did it. I said, but I'm not working with that guy anymore. And he said, well, is there any way that AACA could get involved? And one thing led to another. And fortunately, they said, yeah, you've met somebody over there, and they said, we would like that association. And one thing did lead to another, and we just followed all the steps, and voila, we ended up with a series.
Well, you may be a great producer. You're a lousy director because you just blew my first question. So thanks a lot, Chip. I really appreciate it. Tom, you were the one to contact Chip about the Collector Card TV. How did that come about? Are you going to say what he said?
Actually, see, you know, how time kind of changes things just a hair, but, you know, it was, what I thought was interesting is if you remember, before we talked, I emailed you, and, you know, you're really good about responding to email anyways, but, you know, it was like 11:45.
Right.
I had just gotten back from, I think it was Glidden, I can't remember, it was down in Chattanooga, but at any rate, and we rolled in. Steve had sent me a note and told me that there was a new show on, and we talked about it. I came in, Tammy had DVR'd it, and so I checked it out, and I was watching it, I'm like, So anyway, but it could have been better, you know, we're all critics, we all, you know, watch and, you know, try to see what could be improved or what could be changed. And so I just sent him a note, you know, and I may have told him he was a lunatic. I don't remember. But at any rate, I sent him an email, and I figured I'm not going to hear anything. He emailed me right back, like 10 minutes later. And we passed a couple of emails back and forth that night, and then talked first thing the next morning, yeah.
Right, and just on, you know, the man who had made this series, he had sent me a hard drive, and he said, here, can you turn this into a TV series? And I went, yeah, okay, I will. And so I don't know this guy from a hole wall, but I fixed it up, and I did the best I could. And the thing is, the Discovery said, yeah, we actually, it's not just us, England wants this. They really find this guy fascinating because he wore a cowboy hat, and England loves things with cowboy hats. And I went, okay. And had Tom called him, it never would have happened. Because he would have, you know, because you were critical of him, you know, and I was kind, you know, kind but critical, and he would have said to him, "Get lost," and that's where I told John. I said, "John, you calm down." I said, "You know, you're doing fine. That's fine." But again, he was another person who thought he could be a producer, but when he finally realized how much it takes, it's like anything. You guys, I'm sure, and I usually use the analogy of fixing cars. You get into it and you go, oh my God, I didn't know this was wrong with this car. And you go, but I'm determined to fix it. And that's kind of what, you know, a lot of these TV shows are. You say, wait a minute, we got to fix this, we're going to fix that. So I told Tom, and then honestly, I said, you're president of AACA? And I went, maybe we can figure something out. And that's where I said, that's a great organization. Let's do something about that. And it was a lot of cooperation there, because the show wouldn't have happened without AACA's cooperation, and I know that's the truth.
Hey, Chris, kind of give us an idea of how it all came about that you got the chance to be on this program, and what was your reaction when you got the phone call or email or smoke signal, whatever it was?
Yeah, well, leading up to that offer, I had been contacted at random by a production company that was developing a car show. And needless to say, I never thought that it would really take off. But as time went on, I kept thinking, well, this might happen. I started getting excited about it, and then, sure enough, the word came down, that show is not happening. So it was only like 2 or 3 weeks after that rejection, I got a call from I got a call from Steve on Easter. And, you know, come on, it's Easter. You have to bother me on Easter Sunday.
Every day's a work day, young man.
Yeah. So, Steve's, you got to call Tom Cox. You got to call Tom Cox. You got to call Tom Cox. So I called Tom Cox, Tom is not brief, as you probably know. So I was like, it's Easter, now I'm going to spend the next hour and a half talking to Tom on the phone. And he tells me about the show. And I was like, okay, here we go again. Well, fortunately, I had an audition tape that I was able to email to Tom that evening, and he got it onto Chip, and they said that I wasn't completely horrible. As it turned out, they kind of had maybe some other candidates for the position, and that didn't work out, and I kind of filled the slot. So the true story, I got completely lucky. I fell right into it. But I'm very lucky to be part of the team. I haven't regretted it since. I will tell you that when I sat in Steve's office 7.5 years ago for my initial interview, I pretty much said, I'll do anything you want me to do, but I don't like to do public speaking. So up until 2 years ago, my biggest stress was the seminar at Annual Meeting. And now all of a sudden I'm on international television, and things have come a little ways, for sure.
It's going a long ways. Ben, what was your deal on this?
Pretty much just dumb luck, man. One of the guys on my mailing list is a producer, and he got a casting call, and he's like, man, you've got to submit this video, you're going to be on this show. Okay, whatever. And he kept bugging me. So finally I did this video. I mean, it was one shot deal in the, in front of the computer. I'd never done that before. Kids are great at it, me, not so much. But submitted it, and they called, and they're like, well, you're one of the final 3. I'm like, that's pretty good, not bad. Well, come find out there's only 3 others. I'm like, that's even better.
But Ben, we all know, and I know you have a little fun with it, and please, people, don't boo him. He does make a few comments about our kind of cars, but you're really into the exotic cars. What drew you to do this and become involved with a show like this?
Well, I don't know, to be honest with you.
Okay, we got it. We're not asking Ben any more questions. He just doesn't know. So every question we ask.
It's a great opportunity.
Can I add one thing here?
Sure, go ahead.
There's a couple things. One with Ben. I think a lot of people here are from Pennsylvania. One of my documentaries is on Andrew Wyeth, and a long time ago, I spoke to him because I wanted to sell his documentary into the schools, and he called me up and he said, what's this about editing my documentary? Because it was a 60, and if anybody here knows who Andrew Wyeth is, he also painted nudes of Helga. And I told him, I said, Mr. Wyeth, I have to edit that part out. I go, I'm going to have your full program for the libraries and colleges, but if you want this sold in some parts of America, the schools won't buy it. And he just, he's Andrew Wyeth. No, you can't do that. Right? And so but then I said, yeah, but if you want to reach the kids with your art, your story, so let that happen. And he went, yeah, you're right. So when we were coming up with that, I used that story. Discovery said, listen, we got to reach. We can't just go with one audience. You got to have a wide range, okay? We got to bring in a lot of people, not just older people. We need to have younger people. And he just gave you an example of when he did his tape. I looked at it and I got Tom and I got Chris, and I went, oh, this is too good to be true. This guy, it just comes out of him. And you go, oh, he's quick. And there's a little friction, and that's on purpose. You want that because it's fun, but it's never mean. He's never mean to anybody. So, no. And I don't want to dominate everything, but I want to say one thing about Tom. Tom sent his first tape in, right? And it's big. One of the hardest things about being the director or producer of the show, I had to call him up and I said, can you send me another one? And Simone, who was the co-director at that time, she said, Tom, can't you do better than that? You can do better than that. And she really looked him in the face. She was right to his face and said, come on, do something better. Because he wasn't going to get the job. He wasn't going to get it. And to his credit, we had tape A. You know how you see that in magazines before and after? We watched it and he nailed it. And I went, whoa. And I called you up right away. I said, Tom, wow, you nailed it. You know what? I didn't think you really wanted it. He seemed to have his president's hat on the first time. Then he got into it.
Yeah.
And
Originally, to be honest, I wanted to help and facilitate, and being a part of talent wasn't really something that I was really looking to do. And then, you guys were pretty hardcore about it. And you and Sim both said, you're going to do this. And I just remember you calling me up and saying, look down the barrel, just do this and look down the barrel. And we did it, and you guys were okay with it. But the first time I did it, I was sort of like, I don't know about this.
each one of these guys could say something about taking direction. It is not easy on camera. We all have a story, but
All right, let's get into those stories.
well, Chris can share a good one.
Chris?
So day one up in Buffalo, we're sitting around the little breakfast table, and we're going out to shoot the first set of interviews. And keep in mind, none of the three of us had ever done anything like this. Keep in mind, I'm a little apprehensive about public speaking. I'm gonna have this camera on me. So we're sitting down and we're trying to come up with, not lines, because we weren't scripted, but just concepts of what we're gonna go with. And Chip's he's pushing me, and he's pushing me, and he's pushing me. And Steve will tell you, I can be known to have a little bit of a short fuse if I get too stressed out. And I said something to Chip that you shouldn't say to the producer of a television show if you want to be on said show. Fortunately, he did not hear it. The director, Simone, heard it. She thought it was funny. And then later when he found out, he comes up to me and he said, did you, well, I can't say it, but he's like, did you really say that? And yes, I did. But what he was doing was in retrospect, it was kind of genius because he was pushing me to see where my line was. So how do I take direction? How can he get the most out of me? And he found the line. And then going forward, when we needed a different line of questioning or a different thought on the car, he kind of knew which way to direct me, and it worked out.
Tom or Ben?
Go for it, bro. See a good story about it?
Well, no. One of the hardest things for him would have been, because I had to say to him, look, this is an interesting line because we want a little friction between you with the fast cars and AACA type of cars. But, don't turn people off. Don't make them hate you. Make them understand what that sense of humor. There's a fine line there, and I think he's done a really good job there. Without
it was natural. That's because we did kind of literally all banner back and forth. I mean, we did have fun, and we're all opinionated, and so we're looking at something, and he insults it, and I'm like, you're gonna insult that? That's a great car. What are you talking about? So
I gotta get out of here before I get that.
this is awesome.
Well, seriously, Ben, I mean, I don't know how much from your background it seemed like you were mostly involved in a certain genre of cars. You've gotten really exposed. I don't know if you've ever had been exposed to a lot of the cars you saw while filming this show. Has it changed your impressions, or have you, do you have, we all have different things that we like about cars. I mean, there's the street riders, the hot rodders, the brass car guys, but, was this the first time you really got to see some of these cars close up, and what was
Yeah, a
your
lot
reaction?
of them. I appreciate all cars, no matter what they are. I like them fast and loud, obviously, if I can walk faster than that car goes, I don't really need to be in it. It's been, a lot of fun, and then, these guys have showed me some stuff that I thought it was like a wagon. It's like, where do you hook your horse? And it's like, no, it's a real car. It's opened my eyes to a lot of things, so.
Well, I got a great idea for next year. If he thinks he can walk faster, I got a 110-year-old car, and I bet you I can drive faster than he can walk.
I've seen that.
We'll have to have that little test to see if time to put up or shut up, Mr.
I know, right?
When you guys got started filming this thing, can you guys tell us what your expectations were? Did you think you were going to become famous, you were going to become rich, you're going to sign autographs, all of the above? I mean,
No.
What did you think was going to happen?
Well, you know, I don't know. For me, quite frankly, you know, I mean, I had a great deal of faith in Chip. I mean, truthfully, you know, I knew by talking to him that he really cared about what we were doing, and he wanted it to be better than what was out there. I mean, obviously, we don't have a budget saved, you know, like some of these other guys had. He did a wonderful job, but you just instilled a lot of faith in the product, and my only expectation was to get out there and talk about the hobby, and talk about our aspect of the hobby particularly, so that more people would be exposed to it, more people would see what we do, and come to appreciate and love the AACA style of the hobby. And, you know, we knew there wasn't going to be a lot of drama infused to what we were doing. I mean, we were non-scripted. I mean, we didn't even have cheat sheets, index cards. We had nothing. I mean, and so, you know, we're flying by the seat of our pants, and the chemistry we have, it's kind of cool because we all do get along very well, and, you know, do sort of play well off of one another. But, you know, I had absolutely zero thought that, you know, it had anything to do with any type of, you know, great reward other than proselytizing about the antique car hobby. That was my game, and we did get to do that.
And now you're the
I wanted to make enough money so they could leave AACA.
We can't fix the first part, but we could fix the second part.
The real answer, and it's the God's honest truth, I just didn't want to look stupid. That's all. The secondary benefit was the fact that we got to expose the library, we got to expose the club on an international level that has probably never been done to such a great extent. I will say that the editing team, the post-production, helped out tremendously with that because, you know, I can be a marble mouth, and that's just being honest. And you know, we can try a couple different takes, a couple different routes. They piece everything together, and you know, when you see the final product, you don't miss a beat. So it does present the library kind of, you know, in a kind of good light. So post-production's gold.
made us look pretty good.
Yeah.
I expected to look thinner, but that didn't happen.
I can guarantee you that didn't happen. Ben, did you expect to be on the marquees in Vegas, or what did you expect out of the show? Well, you already are.
No, I didn't expect anything. I just thought it'd be kind of fun. And, you know, I get to go to a couple cool car shows and, you know, fly out here. Who wouldn't
Being
want to come
in
to Philly,
Pennsylvania
you know,
in February, what else could you ask for? Yeah, look what this show has done for you. You know, it's really nice when, I've not always liked the term that Chip uses in talking about a reality TV show, because there's a connotation with reality TV, but this, unlike a lot of the other shows that are scripted and phony this really is reality TV. I got a chance to be involved in a little bit and watch some of it, and guys, there is no script. I can guarantee you that. These guys just wing it. They have an idea, and the talent of those three, and Chip and his team just pull it all together. So it's if you want to talk about reality TV, the Appraisers is definitely reality TV.
a lot like Honey Boo Boo.
Yeah.
Honey Boo Boo.
Yeah.
Little fat redneck girl.
Chip, do you do that one too? Good. That's a good thing you don't know that one. Neither do I. Guys, so you're going through this film process. What was the biggest surprise to you doing this?
Gosh, for me, one, it was that we all got along exceptionally well, which we did. But you know what? People were, once they found out what we were doing in terms of, you know, trying to promote the hobby, everybody was all in. We didn't have anybody tell us no. I mean, really, pretty much everybody wanted to get in there. You know, we were up in Buffalo, Chuck Facklin there. He went out and helped find some folks for us, and we had other guys that were, you know, bringing people to us, and there were people that we just approached, and, you know, everybody was all in. I mean, it was a really great feeling just to have everybody, you know, really kind of behind us. And, you know, they're like, you know, so are you gonna have a lot of cussing and wrench throwing and, you know, all that sort of stuff? And we're like, no, we're actually gonna try to do something honorable. And everybody was like all in. It's good.
Kind of surprised me. I mean, you walk up to anybody at a car show, anybody that's standing there next to a car, and ask them, hey, you want to do a story? What's the story on your car? Every car has a story. You know, I mean, you could do 15 GT500s and have 15 different stories. I mean, it's amazing the amount of, you know, people love their cars. It's great.
Chris?
I found a couple of things surprising. Number one, first and foremost, for me, was how difficult it is once the red light goes on the camera. I'd be talking to somebody. I interviewed a guy about a pedal car that he made, and I distinctly remember him talking about his pedal car while we are recording. And I'm not really listening to him. I'm thinking, well, what should I ask next? And then where should I go? So that was difficult to kind of piece everything together. We made it through, again, thanks to post-production. Another thing that was surprising is how long it takes. We'd shoot for a long time, 18-hour days, and then you look back and we did 3 interviews? So the whole process to do a television show the right way is surprising in just how much time it takes to get a 6-minute clip or a 5-minute clip.
Yeah, that would lead me into asking Chip. You know, we see these shows appear, and you had a pretty good sized team here this year in doing the filming. Kind of take us through the process of how many people were involved and what it took to actually get this thing in a finished product.
It could take a lot more than we had. I mean, when you look at Jay Leno's thing and you look at the list of credits and you go, oh my God, I wish I could have all those people. And we did the absolute max with the minimum, but you know, just to do these guys here who are here, just to have the audio and everything right, and just like Chris talked about, as soon as that camera comes on, these are 3 guys who they've never been, they're not actors.
Deer in the headlights.
Right. And so when we went to Buffalo, you know, I kind of want to say this first to people, and I've got some people here who, you know, they didn't know me at all, and they, some of these AACA people, they got on camera, and Tommy Nolan, I think about him, and I go, I saw him in Buffalo, and then, you know, we were at Hershey, and he walked by when we were shooting again, and I looked at it, and I could see his eyes, and he goes, oh, that's the guy that months ago filmed me, and I don't know, I'm just a regular human being, and I go inside, I'm going, I bet she's saying, it's never going to happen, you know, and I said, no, Tommy, hang in there, it's going to happen, we just got to, there's a lot that goes into this, and we really actually had a pretty basic crew, audio, you know, guy holding the mic, and an awful lot of, yeah, do it again, Tom, yeah, do it, you know, but to their credit, they just kept doing it, and yeah, we had to go through hours of footage to get it, but that's okay. Now we're excited about it because they've all done it. That first time, this is a unique kind of series for reality TV because these 3 guys, nobody did it, and now all of a sudden they've done it, and now with season 2, they'll go, oh, I know it's expected of me, and so it's a learning process, and we'll have the cameras, and it won't be as difficult the next time. I guarantee the footage will be half of what it was for season 2.
It was sink or swim, and you just had to keep paddling.
We had to keep going.
You get in there and the camera comes on, you just got to keep running with it.
And you have to think, we're just going up to people. Like, I'll just take Tommy Nolan. Hey, Tommy, you want to do this? Yeah, sure, I'll do it. You know, and I go, whoa, he did a great job. You know, he did a great jojob. He nailed it. And
There's Mr. Nolan sitting out there, and he did do a great job. If you get the second season, do you get an increase in the makeup budget? Because you know, you got to get more hair product for Ben now because you got a new hairdo.
A lot more product.
Yeah.
I have less, so it evens out.
Well, let me clarify a little bit what happened, because there's so many things that go into, if you're a programmer for television, and television today, they're going, okay, where does velocity, what's their range? And they said, hey, basically 25 to 49 is that's what the advertisers are looking for. So our show skewed more toward the, say, 40 to 70, 80, 90, whatever age you want to get to range. And they said, we don't have as many viewers there, Chip. And when they said, why don't we put you Tuesday night at 10:30 after Wayne Carini? You know, and I said, are people going to stay up that late? You know, and he said, or we give you prime time on Saturday night. So my first time reaction was, well, let's go prime time Saturday night, 8 o'clock. That just seems like people, you know, will watch. But, and I just learned this yesterday in Washington. The guy said, yeah, the thing about going prime time, he goes, the expectations of those sponsors is here. 10:30 at night, down here. He said, so the reason we're talking now is he goes, we got to figure out where you belong. Which time slot will be best so that we don't upset our sponsors who are willing to sponsor your show, but at the same time, the expectations, we can't put you on at 8 o'clock, you know, at Saturday night, because that's when our 25 to 49 people are really, really watching. We need to find the time. So that's kind of what we're negotiating with.
They're drinking then, they're not watching.
But that's something you don't think about. You know, oh yeah, the sponsors kind of dictate those rules.
I want to make sure we leave enough time for questions, and I have a bunch more to ask you guys, so I'm going to kind of break it from what I had planned on doing. I know during the show, you guys all like to have a little fun, but I know there were some funny things that happened. I know young Mr. Cox has a funny story, so if there's something funny that happened during the show, you're on.
Well, you wouldn't know it to look at it, but at any rate, you know, we were up there, we were over at Hank Hallowell's garage, and for those of you who don't know, Hank, he's now the president of the AACA Museum, and so we're over there with Hank, and he has this great Imperial that had belonged to Nelson Rockefeller, and so we were, you know, going through all of that, talking about the car and so forth, and we're on camera, and you didn't know this until we were done either, but, you know, I'm talking to Hank, and everything's going smoothly, and, you know, we're just having a grand old time talking about the car and everything. We're kidding around a little bit back and forth, because Hank's a hoot. And so we start moving around to the backside, and I turn around to Hank, and I'm like, well, let's go back and take a look at the inside of the car, because, you know, the woodwork in it was exquisite. I mean, it really was awesome. And so I'm talking to Hank, let's go in and take a look. And about the time I did that, I have one tooth in my mouth that's capped. One. I'm talking, the cap drops off my tooth. I'm like, let's have a look in, and it dropped. I bit it, it broke in half, I swallowed half, I kept talking to him, and I said, well, you know, it's very unique in here. About that time, I'm like, half my cap I've swallowed, and the other half is stuck in my mouth, and it wasn't until we got finished to it, but yeah, that happened, and then, you know, sort of talking about the post-production stuff, because there's a lot of stuff that you look at, and you see it, you can look at it 10 times. It's kind of like, you know, a misspelled word. You know, sometimes you'll look at something, you think you've misspelled it, you keep looking at it, and it's correct. But post-production with Dave McCoy, that Cadillac convertible, I'm talking to him, you know, and I'm thinking, I'm really getting into it, because I really love 66 Cadillacs. That was one of the very first cars that I really had a real opportunity to drive. Really hard when I was 16. A friend of mine's dad had a 66 Eldorado convertible, and I mean, we spanked that thing running 100 miles an hour down in North Carolina. I mean, it was a great experience, and so I'm all excited about it, and in my head I'm thinking, man, that's a great car, you know, and I'm talking to Dave about driving down the road with, you know, the wind blowing through your hair and the music on and everything. I forgot he was bald. So, when you see that particular segment, you know, I'm talking to him about the wind blowing through his hair, and he has nothing. He's got less than Chris.
Chris or Ben, anything to add?
I think the funniest thing I experienced was chip singing karaoke.
I'm glad I didn't get that experience. I'm gonna.
No, the whole thing was fun. I mean, I can't pick out a moment that was like, you know, I didn't have a tooth fall off or anything. So, but I mean, the whole thing was great. I mean, I had a great time. just messing with these guys. I mean, they're a lot of fun.
I think that came after several beers afterwards. 'Cause you guys were known to be walking around with beers. Let me throw out a multiple choice question for you guys because we're about down to the last question. So answer whichever one you want. Was there a favorite car, a favorite episode, a favorite show? Or how did your family react to seeing you on TV? Or how did you react to seeing yourself on TV? Answer whatever you want to answer.
I'll kick it off. I watched all of the episodes on a computer screen. Chip sent us links when they were when the final edit was done. He said, "This is basically what it's going to look like." And when it aired on television, I haven't seen it on television. I saw the intro clip, and I got to see my son, who's 3.5. He looked up at the screen and kind of cocked his head, and he's, "Daddy?" Then beyond that, it was just too weird to see myself on there. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't cool to see myself, but for some reason, I just kind of got freaked out, and I found it lucky for me to go out in the garage and work on my Buick.
Yeah, we would text back and forth.
Yeah, I'd tell him, I'd show him what I'm working on.
I'm out here working on this, and he'll send me a text while I'm watching it, and he's working on something.
Yeah, so in 8 weeks, I got a tremendous amount of stuff done. My favorite car, though, would probably be a tie between Steve's Oldsmobile, and I'm not just saying that because he's my boss. Because
Yes, you are.
No, it elicited, I didn't say much at all during that interview, but at the very end, I thanked him for what he was doing with his car. The concept with his car is that somebody gave him his car, and eventually he'll pass it on to somebody. And Steve has helped me out a tremendous amount. Steve and many other people have helped me out a tremendous amount in the hobby. And when I was thanking him for sharing his story, I was actually getting choked up thinking about how different people had helped me. So just to think about the good people in the hobby was heart-touching. That's my favorite.
Tom?
In terms of cars, probably the 37 Packard Woody wagon that you gave me so much grief over, called it a boat. I love the 37 Packard Woody wagon. That was probably my favorite. Just something about that car. Is an unusual car with a lot of history, a lot of provenance to it. It's just really a great car. But they're all my favorite. You can ask my wife. There's nothing I don't like. I like everything. So that's the big problem.
Ben?
I think my favorite was the Aventador when Tom got out of it. I mean,
That was
and
tough.
they didn't actually catch it either. I mean, he drove this thing and he got out and he's just like, whoa!
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Turning.
The one thing about it though is getting into the Aventador. There's no way to do that gracefully. And when we were talking to Steve Waldy, and I'm like, Steve, okay, there's no graceful way to get in and out of this thing. He's like, you put your butt in there and you just fall into the car. I'm like, you're kidding me? No. I turned around, I backed up, I just fell in, and that was the only way to do it. Yeah, that was an exhilarating experience. But the fact is the acceleration on that thing is so mind-bending. The only good thing about it is the brakes are about the size of the entire wheel, and it'll stop as fast. Because when Steve was driving before I drove it, he scared the living you know what out of
Well, I
me.
mean, you guys are doing 100 mile an hour to the parking lot.
Chip, before we start the questions, we'll give you a final.
Well, let's see.
Answer anything you want. Tell them about anything you want. Whatever you think they should hear.
I don't know how many people here watch the whole thing, but even though each episode stands alone, there was a purpose behind each episode. They were named, and the writing was based on the title of the program. And what I just said about Tommy or Chuck, people who saw us and seeing this, this was my first foray into a series on television, which my expectation was, because I said on Velocity, I've watched it, I've actually gotten 4 programs on that show that I go, yeah, okay, I'm not even proud of some of them because, I go, oh, well, I have to make a living and they want this show, okay, all right, so I'll do that. This one was a gift. It was like, And I went, you're going to let me do this? You're going to let me do this with unknown people? They're not established? Yeah, Chip, go ahead. We trust you. Go do it. Just get it, deliver it. And this guy that I sat down yesterday, he said, I actually like your show. He said, you know, it's a good show. He goes there, and I guess if you guys don't know me, but, you know, during this political season, I'm from New Hampshire. You hear every year, every 4 years, I hear promises, and you know, and I go, oh wow. And in my business, I go, I don't want to break promises. You know, when I meant that seriously. When I saw Tommy, inside me, I went, I'm going to get this damn thing done, and it's going to be, we're going to get it done, and it's going to be up to people to say, hey, we kind of like this show. And when you start looking at Facebook and things like that, I'm getting letters from people that go, thank goodness there's a show, an all-American show. And I guarantee if I'm looking at people here, male or female, wives and the whole thing, they support this. And I go, this is what America, and I know I don't want to sound like a politician, but this is what. And I said, this is interesting because here's an opportunity to take something that basically we all need, unless you live in New York City or something, a car, you know, and people put they put their hearts and their souls into it, and there's an awful lot of good that comes out of this. And I took people, no script, I didn't tell them what to say. And we said, okay, and if you look at, it just by incident, he doesn't even know this. Because when I had met him, I didn't know him from a hole in the wall, and I'm going, okay, I got to prove it to this guy too. I got to prove it to him. A lot of people, I got to prove that this can happen. This is going to happen because people like him and him, we did get along and we cooperated, and they didn't have any experience, you know. And I said, yeah, but we can do this, guys. This is a team effort. We can make this happen. And when we get to that last story, I don't know how many of y'all saw it, but that was on. It didn't. At first, it wasn't. I didn't know where I was going to put his story because it meant so much to me. The paying forward story, and. When it wrapped up, ironically, apparently from what they said, it was the most watched episode, and even the guy yesterday, he said, I love that story. He said, wow, the guy is going to give his car forward. And that's a message. I said, every American who cares about working and getting up and doing something and building your cathedral, I said, this show is what that's about. That's the heart of the show. And season 2, we're going to have that spirit, and I'm saying, I'm going to reach out to AACA people. I'm going to say, hey, we're ready. They've said, let's go. And I can tell we're going to get cooperation, and people are going to say, oh, this is good, because it was just an idea. Now people see it. They say, oh, that's pretty good. And we can do other things. Some people say, can we have more driving? Well, yeah, we had a budget, and we can only do so much. But that's the great thing about creativity. And that one message is going to continue to grow with the series. I guarantee it. And I don't know how many people here saw his last one, but if you did see it, you know what I'm talking about. The heart of this, that was the heart of this whole series. And these guys share that.
No, thanks, Chip. It was a great honor for me. It happened by accident. I told Chip and his partner about my car and the story, and they said, we got to put this on TV. And but it turned out to be a real blessing. The man who gave me the car, I was in touch with him right after the show. Him and his family saw it, and it was a wonderful way for me to thank him in front of hopefully millions of people. But we have time for a few questions. I have 2 ACE assistants here with their microphones. Wait for the microphone. Don't be bashful, everybody. So, Tammy, Mike, that was the first one to raise his hand. Well, I guess you're not, Mike.
Yes.
Hello? Yeah, about for every appraiser that makes it on the show, how many do you actually film? Is it like 3 to 1, 5 to 1, 10 to 1?
Well, that's kind of interesting. I didn't know if this was going to be a one-time deal for me. Okay, and except for one person who he was elderly and he's sick and he just didn't want to sign anything because he just didn't feel well about being on camera. So we didn't do him, but we had 39 people that we filmed, and I made sure that every one of those people are on that show. Every one. Now some of them had smaller parts, but every person that to me that was a miracle. Every person that we interviewed got on television in one way or the other. Now, will that happen next time? I hope so. I mean, because we were real careful about who we were doing. Tom helped an awful lot in getting, calling people and saying, hey, do you want to do this? And, the people who said yes They were great.
Everybody was enthusiastic. I got to tell you, you know, and I don't really, Tammy will tell you, I try to take a fairly low profile on things, and I don't want to talk too much about it because then I'll get emotional about it. But, you know, AACA, since the time I was a kid, and I joined at age 13 down in Tidewater, you know, it's been my second family. I mean, it has really been my extended family, and you know, there's something really rewarding about being part of that and being able to be involved in something like this and reach out to your extended family, some of whom you really have never met. The only common bond you have are these machines, and you ask them for something, and man, they're ready to give you everything they can, and it's a great hobby. It's a great organization. We should all be so proud of it.
We'll try to get these questions in as we can. We got about 10 minutes.
All right, this is for Chris and for Steve. Since it has been shown and so forth, have you had any particular contacts from people or other organizations that just kind of really surprised you regarding the AACA or regarding the library?
That have called and said, oh, we saw you on TV, and now we want you to do research. I half expected the day after, well, the Monday after the first show aired. I have off Mondays, and Mike, who's in here, and Matt, our other guy, I half expected them to like kill me on Tuesday when I show up because they were going to be overwhelmed with phone calls. They weren't. We've got a bunch of calls that, you know, non-AACA members that reach out to me and say, what do you have on this car? And then naturally I try to set the hook and get them to be AACA members. But yeah, we definitely got a lot of exposure. It was great for the club and the library.
I had some great experiences. Chip, one of my customers, I was a Oldsmobile dealer for 30 years in Maryville, Indiana, and I grew up in a small town of 7,000. I ran my dealership. It was quite large, but I ran it like a small town store. We'd call everybody by their first name. So a lot of my customers were my friends and good friends. And I've lost contact with some of them, and one of them got a hold of Chip. Hey, I know Steve. My father bought cars from him. I bought cars from him, and we reconnected. And it turns out he's a car guy now, and got him to be an AACA member. And I actually heard from several of my former customers, and that was a real treat for me. Mike,
just to interject, one thing that I found really, really interesting is, you know, we didn't talk about this, and that we're on Asia Pacific as well, you know, not just within the States. I'm blown away by the number of people that contact me through the internet, you know, and just want to, you know, chat, they want to talk to you on Facebook or what have you, but from all over, you know. I mean, I now am corresponding with people all over who want to know about AACA, want to know about the car hobby. They want to know where to find stuff, where to buy some parts, where to find resources, and that sort of thing. So it's really, really cool. We really hadn't gotten to
it's great to know that you've learned all these extra languages from all these people out there.
The nice thing about, and it's crazy because the nice thing about Facebook is you can translate. It's like I had 2 questions from the Ukraine the other day. And I don't know how that
Ukrainian?
worked in, but you know, it translates to Ukrainian too, so it's kind of cool. You can talk to just about anybody.
Jonesy.
Jim, great series. Wonderful job, but I was very surprised to know that it was unscripted, and equally surprised that Tom didn't have a teleprompter. So in one of the episodes, there was a conversation between the 3 of you about the value of a car that was going to go through an auction. And these guys won, and you handed them $100 each. Now, that was unscripted. Was that real money, and did they keep it?
Did we?
Yeah.
Smoke and mirrors.
Because that was
Well, we were going to do it, and then we let him off the hook. What it basically boiled down to, we were like, okay, all right, we'll let him go.
that was an interesting story because, you know, being at
But he did buy adult beverages.
yeah, being at that particular auction and that being, there's a real story there. The man died of cancer, his son selling his car. A lot of people love that guy. And Ben wasn't wrong, you know, on some nights somebody would come, no, I want that Chip Miller car. Yeah, but it didn't happen, so it just worked out so good. Now, whether they kept the money, I don't know. Because I told him, I said, make a bet.
That's the cool thing about auctions.
Got somebody over there.
Chip, I'm one of those unfortunates who was not able to get Velocity Channel. Is there any chance that we get a box set of CDs or DVDs of
Right, that's a
of the
real good
show?
question, yeah. Because what happens, and that's where this world that we're all living in, you guys are all part of it. You go, what's happened now with Netflix and Hulu and HBO and all these, what they've called OTT, over-the-top providers of programs. Television business is kind of in a war right now because some of them are saying, like, we'll just take Netflix, for example, and say, well, we're going to just buy that, and we're going to buy that, rights to that series, and now the other ones can't get it. So Discovery, all these contracts we have on what we have to do is, when this deal is done, then I can make any copies what I want, because what will happen is those things like Netflix and OTT, they will be part of the agreement, and then people will be able to either stream it if they want to, or put it on their smart TV, or if you want to buy it on DVD. Until then, the intellectual property of that can't be touched. You have to be careful with all, it's called intellectual property. So those programs are my property, and until they, the deal is signed, then they say, okay, now you can release it. Because again, it's all about sponsors. The sponsors don't want them out to the general public until they've made a deal. And so once that's done, which should be, I'm hoping within 6 weeks, then we can then start releasing, like a DVD package for it.
We have time for about one, maybe two more questions. We'll take that one after.
I was just curious, is how do you determine the cars and the people that you feature on your programs?
Yeah, you want me to answer that one? Okay. That was really a team effort, though, because I basically have an idea that I know that we have to mix it up. We know that. But these guys really are the experts, and I really deferred everything to them. I said, you guys tell me. I'm a listener. I think my biggest skill is just listening, and I go, okay, that's going to work. That's going to work. Okay, good. And they all did, whether it's Pierce here, I know what these guys love. And it's my job to say, okay, well, we're going to do this one now, that one then, and that's the hard part for me. But no, they could all address why they picked certain cars.
Over in the corner.
Hi, Chip. I had a question about the name, the Appraisers. We heard from a group that was in here before, the auto appraisal group that does, has been doing appraisals for 25 years. And I was wondering, I see on the show it's a lot of fun and games and laughs and a good time, but appraisals are serious business. And how do you put a price on a car? And I don't see any sort of research or any sort of history on the whole thing. And how do you do that? Because one thing that the AACA values is accuracy and correctness and authenticity. And I was wondering if you could address that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just take that one actually. What you really don't have the opportunity to see, and it's unfortunate, but we have a great depth of experience within our hobby here, even here in Philadelphia. People with 50, 60, 70 years in this business. I've probably owned and sold about 400 cars. I spend a great deal of time doing other things. We have our library resources. We have the resources of hundreds of appraisers within AACA. So I think to say that, we're not taking it seriously, it's sort of an unfortunate characterization, because you really didn't have the opportunity to see everything that we did on the back side of this. So there was a lot of research done prior to and after, because some of the cars we actually knew what we were going to go for before we actually got there. And so we had the opportunity to consult and research, and so there was a lot that went into it. There are a lot of appraisal groups out there, a lot of different people, a lot of people who use different matrices to value things and so forth.
Unfortunately, folks, we're up against our time slot. I'd just like to say just a quick comment from my perspective. The show's TV. It's entertainment. It's for your enjoyment. I hope people learned an awful lot about the cars as a result. The name is the name. It has to draw people, and Hopefully it did, and nobody's going to live or die on those appraisals. And all the owners that were involved were in on it, and they understood what the end result was going to be. We're thrilled that you guys came today. Hopefully we've entertained you and you've had a good time. Tune in for hopefully the second season of The Appraisers, and thank you all very much.